Today on the Brand Aid podcast.
Because if you give yourself permission to go for your dreams, if you give yourself permission to create an amazing brand, like you will get clear. The way will be shown. You will figure it out.
Welcome to Brand Aid, where we answer the question, what does it take to launch your own brand revolution, create evolution, and who are the people that help you foster connection, community, contribution, and currency for a brand built to last. You will also meet brands changing the world and the lives of those they serve. Here's your host, Cheryl Hodgson.
On today's episode of the Brand Aid podcast, Gina DeVee shares her journey from struggling psychotherapist who lived at home with her parents to globe-trotting entrepreneur, which has led her to found the multi-million-dollar women's empowerment company, Divine Living. Gina is author of The Audacity to Be Queen, the unapologetic art of dreaming big and manifesting your most fabulous life. Gina is a speaker and success coach who has dedicated her career to helping clients connect spiritually, start businesses, create wealth, and live life to the fullest. Gina's mission is to uplift entrepreneurs through inspiring content, bold business trainings, and life-changing events. Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Hodgson. Welcome to the Brand Aid podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, a former coach and mentor of mine, Gina DeVee, who has founded the Divine Living Academy. And I'm so grateful to have you here today, Gina. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to talk to you about what's going on.
Oh, Cheryl, it's such a delight to see you and to be here with you. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And, you know, it's like I was so excited when I heard about your book coming out because it really is, the book is so special. You know, it is just, I love the title. And we're going to talk not just about the book, but I really think it's a great starting place because it really sort of says it all. The audacity to be queen. And I love the tagline, the unapologetic art of dreaming big and mastering manifesting your most fabulous life. That's a mouthful.
It is, but every word there is important, and it's for women like us.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, it's like you didn't start there.
Not even a little bit.
And, you know, I think I was sharing with you just momentarily before we got on that I started listening to the book on Audible and I got so engrossed the time went away, and there's so much more that we can cover. But, you know, you have not only the brand of Gina DeVee, but you have the Divine Living Academy. And for those people who don't know you yet, you have worked with women in coaching really for over 25 years, you know, something like that.
20 years, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But you started out as a family therapist, correct?
Yes. I have a master's degree in clinical psychology, and I became a therapist because I wanted to help people transform their lives.
All right. And I mean, not all of your clients are women, but a large portion of women entrepreneurs, I think, relate to you and your brand and your messaging. And what is it, do you think that let's get right to the meat of it. What is it holds women back in business, you know, because we go out there and try to launch something, or we have these big ideas and somehow or other, sometimes isn't there stuff inside of us that gets in the way, right?
Exactly. You know, I created the brand Divine Living for women like us because no longer do we have to choose. You know, women like us, we desire it all. And I just started saying that out loud. We want to have a meaningful career and a divine lifestyle. And so that's what my brand Divine Living is all about. And that's what I take a stand for myself on my own journey and with women as well. And I think the piece that holds us back is not giving ourselves permission to say what we really desire, to be who we really are, and to think that what we desire and who we are isn't okay, and that we've got to fit into someone else's idea of what is acceptable.
And where does that come from? I mean, where is it? Social conditioning? Is it centuries of the way women have sort of perceived themselves in society or been perceived in society?
Yes, yes, exactly. So here, I'll show you, because like the hardcover is actually quite beautiful, of the
Yes, it
Audacity to
is.
Be Queen. Um, in chapter 3, I write all about femininity, and I write about the history of it as well. And what has gone on since the ancient times is that we have so revered the masculine. And there's masculine and feminine energy inside of each of us, male or female, but the masculine has tended to lean towards male. And there was a celebration when a boy was born, and a boy could be the heir to the throne, and the boy was the one that got the education. And so for centuries, it hasn't even been okay just to be female, just to like turn into a woman. And if you did, your job was to bear sons. And there was actually mourning that would occur when a daughter was born. And then we've seen it throughout the ages, when women would be too beautiful, it was dangerous for them. Or if they were too smart or too wild, then they got burned at the stake.
Yeah.
So I think that for so long that there has been this patriarchal society that says, men are in power and men have the money and men make the decisions. And so, like any muscle that's not worked, it atrophies. And over the centuries, I think that, there's such a deep conditioning that we women need to ask for permission just to stay safe and to survive. But that, of course, is not what our reality needs to be today, because the age of queen is now. And women like us are giving ourselves permission and no longer waiting for it.
Well, and I think you just said something really, really profound about giving yourself permission, because I'm speaking from my own personal journey. I consider myself a late bloomer in the sense that, I had a lot of internal stuff to get over, and it was self-talk, self-imaging. I've gotten a master's in spiritual psychology. I've done everything I can think of, but still it came down to, this little thing is find my voice, share it with the world, having the courage to be seen and heard, and not afraid that you're going to be dismissed or thought of as less than, and it's not, so how does a woman get past that?
So one of the things I write about in the book are all of the different archetypes that hold us back. So if the ultimate archetype is being queen, and queen just means being the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like or feels like to you, then there's these other kind of characters within us that hold us back, that have us believe the lies. And so I've categorized, there's over 30 of them in the book, but there are ones like Little Miss Perfect, who has the disease to please. There's the martyr, the slave girl. There's the roller coaster rider. That's the woman who's like, one day she's going to be the star, and the next day she's like, I don't think I can do it, and like, I don't deserve it. There's the ghost. She's the one who's the invisible communicator and like won't speak her truth. So there's the saboteur. There's all these archetypes inside of us that, depending on what our upbringing was, our life experiences were, that literally are the voices inside our head that say, you can't, that's not okay, that's not possible, that will never happen for you. And it's up to us to heal all of those areas and really get ourselves in the position of queen.
Yes. Well, when you talk about healing that, one of the, certain things stick in our head from that you hear or read over the years, and when I went through the spiritual psychology program with Ron and Mary Holnick, one of Ron's simple statements sticks in my head all the time, which is, he says, if you really get down to it, we as humans, everything we do is a story we're telling ourselves. All of our thoughts are some belief that we have. And if you're going to tell yourself a story, you might as well make up a good one.
Exactly. I remember, those fear-based thoughts we can get in the middle of the night and we're just like spinning out. It's like, I remember one time my husband said to me, if you're going to spin out on something, why don't you make it about something you actually desire?
Yes. Well, then, it's really been interesting, and this is switching gears just a little bit, but I think it's important to see that, because you have, you share a lot with your audience, I think, in terms of social media and lifestyle. And one of the things that's been great is you create these events. Up until we were in Corona, you were having events, and I've just marveled at how you have made it okay and desirable for women who are building businesses to gather in retreats with you in just some of the most phenomenal places all over the world. And but then there's an aspect of that beyond that, which is you really have an amazing supportive relationship with Glenn.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that has been a factor in your success, wouldn't you say? Because you give him credit all the time.
Absolutely. It started, Cheryl, when I gave myself permission. People would tell me, like, when it's very common in the coaching industry to have a program that's part virtual and part in person. And the in-person events were supposed to be at like ugly airport hotels and, in my opinion, and I won't name any names, but non-glamorous cities.
I've been to a few of those, actually.
And I was like, why? Like, that's not where I want to go. And that's not where I want to check into. And so I just took a look at where would I want to go. And so I started just dreaming. And I remember even like my very supportive husband was like, Gina, you can't do events in Paris and Sydney and, Florence and blah, like people can't travel like that. And I said, well, why not? Like, we don't go to offices. We work from home. Why can't we? And so I just kept saying yes to my dreams, even though it wasn't really what was going on in the status quo. And then it created a whole trend. I started creating destination, like 1-day intensives, and I would do them anywhere from Marrakesh to London to Paris. And then, a whole generation after me started doing them as well. And international events, as much as I love the United States, I do love to travel internationally as well. So I do events where I desire to go. And what I actually found from a brand perspective, it became a selling point. I mean, with all due respect to me and my work, sometimes people were just like, I've never been to Florence and I want to go. So they would use it as their like excuse to get to South Beach or Cancun or Sydney or wherever we were going. And then, yes, Glenn has been more than supportive. He's been quite the partner, and we set things up so that we could live together, work together, and travel the world together.
Well, and I only bring that up because, part of that, one of the issues that comes up with women, I think, is in relationship is, feeling supportive, or is it okay for me to have my own thing and step out into the world,
Mm-hmm.
And there are men who are supportive in relationships for that. And then there's some women that becomes, or if they feel it's an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important to, everybody has to deal with it in their own way, but you certainly are an example in that area. And I love what you just said about the fact that your brand is a little, it helped your brand, because I was going to ask you the question, is Gina DeVee the brand, or is Divine Living the brand? And that's it, or is it both?
It's been a question, and it was a conscious choice for me at the beginning, that I desired Divine Living to be the brand, because I want it to be bigger than me and about more than me. I think there was an era of personal brand, and there still is. There's plenty of people that are very much a personal brand. I'm a very extroverted name and face of the brand at the moment, but where I see it going with products and a clothing line, and getting into things that are outside of me, I wanted the brand to be Divine Living. So we call it Divine Living by Gina DeVee. So I'm very connected to it. It's just that I'm not the personal brand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's just an interesting distinction, because obviously I work a lot with branding and trademarks and that sort of thing, and trying to coach people, and both as a lawyer and also hopefully mainly having them understand that whether it's a personal brand or a product brand or a lifestyle brand, they need to have something that people relate to besides,
yes.
I'm just another lawyer, or I'm just another coach, or, what is your distinctive differentiation? What makes you different, and what is it you're contributing that someone else, they wouldn't get from someone else, And
exactly.
That's a journey in and of itself, right? Because you didn't evolve into Divine Living overnight.
Not only did it take me years, I paid extensively for it. I've hired many branding agencies throughout the years, and there was one in particular that was able to distill this. So I can't even take, full credit for it. They they did a great job of getting to know me and my aspirations, because at that time the brand was Gina DeVee, and they really came up with the concept of divine living. And I said, yes, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah. Well, and I relate to that because look, I've been trying to birth Brand-Aid for 10 years and I've had a vision of what it was. But I mean, just when I go back to the brand issue, I've saved all the bad logo designs I've gotten from people in the last 10 years. And I still have no logo for Brand-Aid because, let's see, I've gotten barbed wire fences with branding irons. I've gotten Martians with weird things on their heads. I've gotten BA for Bank of America or British Air. I'm like, no, I'm none of those. So
it's a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey, but I think that's important because, in terms of the mindset issue we're talking about and women making the transformation to realize it is okay to be seen and heard, whether it's them as the individual or as a brand, there's this issue of they tend to look at someone, and I'm not saying they generally, but some people can look at someone like you or even like me as a lawyer and they go, oh, it's easy for you. You've already successful, right? But they miss the fact that, it's not, it's one foot in front of the other every day.
Mm-hmm. And to keep going, keep investing. I think so many times people hold it, well, I did that and it didn't work. It's like, well, join the club. And if I can show you my, torturous branding logo, like the string of them as well. We do them actually for fun at some of my seminars, like to show all the bad branding that it took to get to what you're seeing today. And you just got to keep going. You got to keep going for your dream, keep evolving, keep getting mentored, keep investing, and keep developing yourself.
Yeah. Well, and also it's knowing how to, first of all, the thought that comes into my mind is to fail forward to success.
Exactly.
You've got to fail in order to learn and keep going. And then, but it's easy to say, oh, well, that didn't work, so I quit. Mm-hmm. And so tell me, when you're coaching women, and you've coached hundreds of thousands of women by now, and I mean, what do you, if you had to distill it down, what is the number one or top couple of things you find that hold women back in terms of really being able to step out into being queen?
Yes. The first one for sure is self-permission. And when you don't have self-permission, it comes with a whole ripple effect, because that's when, women allegedly aren't clear on what they want to do or even what they want. And the statistics are that only 1 in 100 Americans even know what they want. But I think that so much of it that's just the symptom of the core, because if you give yourself permission to go for your dreams, if you give yourself permission to create an amazing brand, like, you will get clear. The way will be shown. You will figure it out. But until you've given yourself permission, it isn't clear, because I think people think that you just get these ideas. The only reason why I have going on in my life what I have going on is because the work informed me. I learned from actually doing it. I didn't get it through meditation or journaling, which I do every day. I mean, certain pieces, yes, but like most of it, you learn while you're doing it. So I would say for sure the number one step to being queen is giving yourself permission to be, do, have, experience, and contribute in life at its fullest. Then the next is really getting clear on your vision. I know a lot of people talk about this, but I know that for me, even we kind of sort of know what direction we're going in and what we want. And we can be really vague about our vision. We want a bigger brand, or we want more money or more clients or whatever it is. But if you were to really dream as if there were no consequences or limitations, what actually is your vision? And so I think that giving yourself permission to dream and kind of do the broad brush strokes, but then what I do is I really chunk it down. And I do it in 90-day increments, because I find that if I have 90-day goals and then I work backwards, that What am I going to do by the end of 90 days, the end of 60 days, the end of 30 days? Like, there's no time for procrastination. Like, it's like, you're like, the calendar itself really holds you accountable. So I would say another step is to just be really clear on what your vision is, and then organize your time around your vision. I know what's important to someone based on what they spend their time on and what's in their calendar.
Whether you are CEO of your own evolving brand, or you are serving as guide and mentor to other emerging brand owners, it's important to include legal protection for valuable brand assets. Brand names and logos, as well as other intellectual property, are often the most valuable business assets a company will ever own. Registered trademarks or product names, logos, and slogans are a potent weapon against domain hijackers, cyber squatters, as well as other later entrants into the market. In my international best-selling book, Registered Trademark, The Business Owner's Guide to Brand Protection, I reveal my simple 3-step process to help select, secure, and sustain protection for your own brand dream team. And I'll share how to bulletproof your business both online and off. As my special gift to our listeners, you can receive a free copy of my book. Simply go to brandaid.com/free gift to receive your copy today, and you'll pay only for shipping and handling. You said something really profound, which I have reminded myself over and over again in life, is this notion that the work informs you along the way. Because I know just launching the podcast, it's been the most amazing, fun thing I've ever done. I mean, I'm in my element because I've always loved meeting people. That's who I am, that's just, and learning what people do and what their gifts are to share with the world. It turns me on. But then it was the process of the technology and all the stuff you have to do, which, whether it's launching a website, launching a course, it doesn't matter. You can get bogged down in all that stuff, and then trying to find the right team and the right people. But really, once it started and I finally got it launched, it's like suddenly there's just this wave of, I've got this idea, and wouldn't that be great? And the work informs, it's just what you're saying. I feel informed by the process. You put one step out there or one idea out there, and suddenly the universe responds with some sort of support or step or another idea to move forward in a little bit different way. Have you found that?
100%. I think that we need to know all of the answers before we even begin, or we need to know all of the hows, and it's just not true. Like, if you know what the next step is, you take that, and then you'll be informed of the next step and then the next step. But I typically don't get information more than 2 to 3 steps away from where I'm at, even after all these years. So I stay very present. I'm highly attentive to what those goals are to move forward. I take those steps. And the other reason why I don't go further than 90-day increments is if I'm really growing and that quickly, who I'm going to be at the end of those 90 days, like, it could never have planned the next steps from there, because I'm at such a higher level of consciousness, so much further forward in my business. Have met so many new amazing people, had so many great experiences in a 90-day increment. So and make those next decisions when the next quarter begins.
Yeah. Well, and also I think within that comes the need to be able to adapt, right? And go with the flow. So we're recording this during the coronavirus. So I'm not sure if someone listens to it later. Hopefully we'll all be beyond that at some point soon. But it brings up the need to be flexible and adapt. So how is this current circumstances forcing you to adapt and coach your students and your clients on how they in these difficult times?
Well, the first thing that I had to do was adjust my mindset. Because when this first came in, it just seemed like it was larger than life. And for me, I come from a spiritual inclination. And so I had to remember that, whatever you call it, God, spirit, universe, it's bigger than the coronavirus. And that really calmed me down. Like, I was like, okay, like the news was making it out to be, even my own fears in my own head was like, oh my gosh, this is larger than life. No, it's not. God is larger than life. The coronavirus is not. So I really got the mindset of a queen down. And I remembered what was still true. And something else that I write about in the book is that each of us have a divine assignment for any given day, and then also for the destiny for our life. And as a queen, it's important for me to be aware, to be compassionate, to be empathetic of all of what was going on for the doctors and the nurses and the people getting infected and the families that were losing loved ones. And that was not my experience. And therefore, it was not my divine assignment. The divine assignment is never to freak out, to be in fear, or to not fulfill your own purpose. So I had to really practice self-discipline in terms of like, what is my divine assignment for that day? And my divine assignment was still to share the message of being queen. My divine assignment was to continue to move my business forward and model to others that it was okay to do the same in their life. You know, especially women were afraid, like, is it okay to be making money right now? And I said, of course. It's not okay to produce some sort of scam, take advantage of the situation. But if you have an uplifting product or service, like, the world needs that more than ever. And so do not offer what you're meant to offer in the world. And so, and then the third was, you know, I didn't wait 20 years to publish my first book during a global epidemic, but my book came out in March 2020. And so I had a global book tour planned, and I was able to hit 2 stops. We hit New York and Miami before we needed to go into quarantine, and we had to cancel everything else. And I let myself feel sad for a couple of minutes. Like, it was sad to me. I wanted to see people and hug them and sign their books. I've waited, you know, my whole life for that, or my whole career life anyways. And, you know, I knew it was really a postponing. It wasn't really a canceling. And one of the skills I teach in the book is that everything is happening for us, not to us. And if that's actually true, then I had to ask myself, like, and I did this exercise, I'm thrilled this is happening because. It's okay. I'm thrilled my book tour got canceled because. There's like, okay, I can pivot and reach out and do a bunch of podcasts like this one, and maybe even get the word out in an even bigger way with the podcast reach than what my in-person gatherings would have been.
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled this is happening because, well, I didn't just want people to buy the book. I actually wanted them to read it. And people are reading right now more than ever because they can't go anywhere. So I'm like, okay. And you know, I'm thrilled this happened because I have a publicist, and I was supposed to be flying around to do a bunch of media. Right now I'm doing the media from the comfort of my own home because everyone's gone virtual. So I've just had to pivot and take a look at what are the opportunities. What is this time meant for? What is my divine assignment right now? And when the divine assignment is to be in person again and do live events again, I will happily seize that because it's a very happy way to work. But you know, I'm really thrilled about all of the opportunities like this one right here with you, Cheryl. So I think it's really, being a queen is about looking to understand, how is something happening for you, not to you.
Well, I could really go deep on that because it's so in alignment with my philosophy, my own journey, which is, you know, is that, you know, we call it in spiritual psychology terms, it's called, you know, your spiritual curriculum, and that we each have one, and no one's is better or worse than others. You know, it's just different. And that we each are all going to go through experiences in life, which are not what you would call peak experiences. You know, I mean, being in a pandemic and isolation is not necessarily a peak experience on a day-to-day basis. On the other hand, you know, the only control we ultimately have in our life is shit happens, you know, at some level. And then the unexpected comes along. And the only thing we can control is our response and our reaction. So what you were saying and sharing about controlling your mindset and controlling your thinking. And that takes practice.
It does.
Those old tapes come in. And even, I mean, I've been going through it myself, and it's like, got to meditate, got to hit the yoga mat. What are my, and I think what I've had to say, one thing is, we each need to have our own tool chest, our little, you know, things that we can turn to that help us stay on the right path and the right thinking.
100%. And then you actually do turn things into a peak experience when you do that.
Yeah. Well, and it's perhaps you can, and I've been seeing quite a few brands do this. They're reaching out with no agenda to sell something at the moment, but to really be of service to their clients and their customers. And those that are doing that, I think those are the people, by pivoting during the crisis, but being present and accessible, will be who clients turn to as things improve and get better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for example, and I think it's, femininity is about taking a stand for the and. The masculine is about either or. The feminine is about we, the masculine is about I, the individual. And so when this all happened, we created a companion course for the book, and it's called The Audacity to Be Queen. And we were going to sell it. And it was actually Glenn, my husband's idea, that said, you know what about us giving it away for free? And I was like, that's brilliant. Perfect idea. So, and anyone can go get it. It's divineliving.com/audacity. It's a completely free course. And so we felt great about giving that to the community as a gesture of hope and having positive programming. There's videos, workbooks, all the things. And I'm also continuing to sell my other programs, products, and services, so you can really take a stand for the and. You can be giving and generous and do things for free and pivot and adapt to the current climate. And you can continue to move your brand and business forward.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, since I just got the book, I better get the course.
Yes.
We all need a little more extra input. But there was a couple of things you said that I really wanted to, I love this thing about, giving yourself, we talked about giving yourself permission, but about not having to give up too much of yourself. And there's something you shared in the book, about, which I really urge people to tune into. It's really fabulous book. But the notion about, and I've really related to this personally because I struggle with it. I mean, look, I come from a little bit different generation where there weren't a lot of women role models. There were a few, but believe me, the ones I met were all in the masculine mode. The burn out the adrenals, the work the 120 hours, work harder, and it wasn't okay. You had to give yourself away. You had to prove yourself more. I spent 25 years in that model. And I mean, I blew out the adrenals. I had I did it all. And so I just, you share in the book, and I'd love it if you could just kind of talk about that a little bit, about either the women who were in their feminine energy and had, were in a great place, but they weren't making any money, versus the ones who were like me early in their careers, who were just had no life.
Yes. Well, at the beginning of my career, about 15 years ago, I would say, that was very much where I was discovering femininity. I was always very spiritual, and I was into, I just moved to Los Angeles, and I joined the feminine energy circles, and it was these beautiful sisterhood and new moon circles and blah, blah, blah. And we were all broke. Wore flowy clothes, and we were all broke. And then I looked at all because I always desired to have a better lifestyle for myself and to create greater impact, which both require money. And I was like, who are the women that have money? And it was the lawyers, the investment bankers, the commercial real estate broker, and they were all working these crazy 100-hour weeks, blowing out their dreams completely in their masculine, but they had the money. And so I was really asked the question, where are the women who are wealthy and feminine? And so that is where I really dove into studying all things queen, because queen is not all feminine. She's the masterful blend of the masculine and the feminine. And so when we lead with our femininity, followed by our masculinity, that's how we can accomplish a lot, create great impact, great wealth, and receive a great lifestyle as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the archetypes you talk about, which is, or what do you call it? the way we project out is either acting out as the bitch or the princess, or what were the other throw, the slave girl, whatever, right? Where we work to death. But one of the things that informed me, and I share this just from a personal perspective, because in my generation as a young lawyer, there were, if I was assertive, I was immediately labeled by men as a bitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words,
Mm-hmm.
it was difficult to get to the merits of representing my client because they would throw this thing at me, right? And so then it became, and again, as I said, there weren't a lot of role models, but I'll never forget, I don't know if you're familiar with who Katharine Graham was. She won the Pulitzer
Sure.
Prize,
Mm-hmm.
and she owned the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget, has to be at least 20 years ago. I read an article about her when she was very much still alive. In Vanity Fair. She was profiled in Vanity Fair. And there was a quote about her by from Adlai Stevenson, who had been a Secretary of State or something many years ago. And he said, her greatest virtue was her opponents always tended to underestimate her abilities. And and that stuck with me, and it saw me through, because what I finally came to, without having a coach like you or someone, Audacity to Be Queen book available back then, it was like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to be aggressive. Maybe I can just like lie in the weeds and be nice. And then guess what? I can bless you and blast you too. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean for behalf of my clients to do what needs to be done to take care of business,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that men get a bad rap, and there's certain men that need to take responsibility for mislabeling certain women's attributes, because if a man behaved the same way, that judgment would never take place. I got to tell you, women do it to each other as well. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about with this generation of women. I'm not talking about age at all. I'm just talking about the women that are currently on the planet. We're so much more in the creative realm than the competitive realm. And it's really all about collaborating in sisterhood. And it's not about taking other women down anymore.
Absolutely. I think that we're finally realizing the men have been doing, not in a bad way, because I love men. I have nothing, but I mean, let's face it, they've been hanging out in the locker room, on the golf course, and doing business for years.
Mm-hmm.
We can hang out in the spa.
Yeah, exactly.
On the beach in Cannes, when you have your next event. So tell me, what is next for Divine Living?
Well, right now we're being really present. We're just really excited to get the book out into the world. There's a hardcover, there's a Kindle version, there's Audible. So you can go to divineliving.com/book and get it anywhere. We are proud from a brand perspective. We are in 1,000 Target stores across the US, and we're also in Walmart in Canada. So we're very proud that the book has gone mass and mainstream.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And we've got some cool things coming up that we're working on. So if anyone wants to stay in touch, all the resources are at our website, divineliving.com. There's videos, there's talk show, there's podcasts, there's all kinds of free stuff. Get on our mailing list. We send out a cool kind of magazine-y newsletter once a week, and then you'll be able to see all the things that are coming up at Divine Living.
Yeah, well, you did a beautiful magazine there for a while. That was a big experiment, and I remember you saying that it also was a challenge.
It was a big experiment and a big expense from a brand perspective. So yes,
but it was gorgeous.
You can see all the archives on the website. They're all still there.
Hey, but you did it,
Yes.
and
learned a lot.
Yeah. So is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd love to share?
I think it's just been such a fun time, Cheryl. It's one of those subjects where there's so much depth. I appreciate, from a brand perspective, people can study what I've done around the whole concept of queen and how I've integrated that with Divine Living. And I think that just more than ever, we really need positive programming for our minds. And so I know I'm obviously a bit biased, but it's been great to get your feedback that the book will do exactly that. It's really going to support you in your dreams and whatever those are for your brand, and really maxing them out in a good way, like really applying big thinking and big love and big care and big belief in them. So I hope you get the book and really use the exercises in it to make your brand go as big as you desire it to be.
Well, and we do need that support. I realize it. I mean, we've been isolating. I'm not in relationship other than with my dog at the moment.
Mhm.
So, I'm isolated alone, and I'm on the phone a lot or on calls. So it's not like I'm not with people. I'm very much with people. But at the same time, there's that little voice in the head. Oh, well, I'm isolated by myself, And so it's more important than ever to me to have that connection. And I think there's one thing we didn't talk about, which I think is important because it was part of my transformation. I don't know if you've seen this. This might be one more archetype for you to add in. It's Mary Morrissey, who I coached with at one point. I love Mary. She calls it the Lone Ranger syndrome.
Yes.
And that would be me. I was the Lone Ranger. I have to do it all alone. That's part of the martyr syndrome, right? There's nobody there for me, so I have to do it all myself.
Well, there's a whole chapter on belonging. It's a little bit towards the end of the book, and the loner is one of the archetypes you will see there. And I'll show you how to transform that one as well.
Okay, well, I am the reformed loner. So,
Good.
I mean, I totally believe that we all need that community and connection with each other, to really survive. So,
For sure. Well, and that's one of the reasons why we offered the companion course for free. So definitely go to divineliving.com/audacity. Get in on that course because you're going to meet women from around the world who are going for their dreams. It's such an amazing group of women, and they'll be thrilled to meet you.
Great. Well, count me in. And
Cool.
Is there anything on your bucket list you haven't done? I've always liked to ask that question. What exotic location have you not been to yet?
In terms of travel or business accomplishments?
Whatever. It could be both. You could have more than one.
Yes. So I definitely have a dream of a product line. So that is a bucket list piece that I haven't done yet.
That's fabulous.
And in terms of location, where haven't I been that I'm desiring to go? I think when things open up, I'm going to go hit some repeat places, some of my favorite loves, but I don't know. So the Iceland journey is coming up for me right now. I haven't done the Blue Lagoon in Iceland, so that's of interest. I think there's some places in Asia that I haven't done, like Vietnam is looking really beautiful, and Shanghai. I haven't experienced that city either.
Fantastic. Well, I foresee many more great divine living events around the world, and I can't wait to attend one.
Thank you. Yeah, the next ones will probably be in the Mediterranean, though. That's probably my first love.
Okay, well, I can go along with that. I could be there for that. So, I just have to confess that I was really taken when you were in Cannes a year or two ago, because I've been there probably 30 times for the Midem years ago in the music industry. I used to go every year. So it's like when you were in the market, I go, I know that place. And so it's also very inspiring for people to realize that they can work virtually. And we talked a little bit about that before we started, about how this virtual how things are shifting for all of us, to being online. And before we go, I'd like to just go back and circle on that a little bit, because I don't think we really talked about that online.
Sure. One of the opportunities right now, depending on what industry someone's in, is just really utilizing all of the capabilities that we do actually have virtually. In some ways, my life isn't that different and self-quarantine than when I'm not. I work from home. I do many Zoom calls. My team is virtual. I do work, normally from anywhere in the world. So, and now getting even more digital programs going, and even more systems and structures in place that don't require in-person attendance. It's just what the focus has been recently. And I think that there's so many industries that had an outdated way of thinking that they had to go in person. I mean, obviously, if you're a hairstylist or a massage therapist, that's true. But there's just so many industries that thought they had to go into an office or couldn't work virtually that I think are really seeing how much you can really accomplish and how much like time you can really save. I know my team loves not having a commute. Many of them are here in Los Angeles, and they just love not having a commute because they actually said they can work more, they can be more productive because they're not in the car an hour to and from work every day.
Well, and I think the message from my perspective is for those people who might be listening is someone like you've been doing this for 20 years, and it's like the rest of the world. And I've been doing it for quite a long time too. And not quite as long, but now that I'm not going to court, hopefully never again. But it's like nothing's really changed for me either. So I think that turning to people like you with you have not only the depth of knowledge to help entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to really develop their messaging, deal with their mindset, and to actually birth something of value and significance in the world. There's that aspect, but also you've been doing this kind of virtual build a business for a long time. So you have a lot to share in that. So I really urge people to connect with you. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Hey, thank you for joining me. It's just been wonderful having you. And after things settle down, I want you to come back and we'll hear how the real book tour went.
Excellent. So far we're on the virtual one, and then we'll get the in-person going as well. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Gina DeVee, founder of the multi-million-dollar brand Divine Living. Divine Living is for the person who's excited about impacting the world, craves a spiritual connection, dares to be visible, and desires to fulfill their life's purpose. Have you protected your big ideas? Is your online business built on a strong legal and business foundation? To learn more about the legal protection you need for your online business and how to use intellectual property to leverage the growth and profitability of your business, check out our new mini-sode series, Built to Last. I'll be sharing what I've learned during my business and legal career and how you can use those lessons to build a lasting legacy for your own business. So join me for my solo flight on the Brand Aid Built to Last minisodes.
That's it for today's episode. Head on over to brandaidpodcast.com and subscribe to the show. When you subscribe, you'll instantly receive Cheryl's free special gift, Consumer Guide to Trademark Registration Services. This consumer guide will help ensure your most valuable business assets are entrusted to professionals. Make certain you're on the path to a business and brand built to last. Join our Brand Aid community on the Podopolo mobile app to win prizes, products, and cool free resources to help you grow your business. And also connect with Cheryl and your friends. Podopolo is free on the Apple and Google App Stores. And when you go to brandaidpodcast.com/win and post a review to iTunes, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a once-in-a-lifetime VIP Brand Aid opportunity to mastermind with Cheryl personally to grow and scale your business, or to select, secure, and sustain a valuable brand name for your business. That's Podopolo on the Apple and Google App Stores. Download it now.